save me money, or make an output. So as you guys are thinking about your business, I want you to think of your business as two levers, right? You've got two variables that are going on. Number one, as an operation of business, you are trying to do what with your expenses? You're trying to keep them where? Low as possible. So first thought you want to be aware of is the lower your expenses, the more bottom line revenue you as a business owner make. You are all business owners. Raise your hand if you're a business owner. Raise your hand. Raise it. There we go. Don't lie to yourself. You're a business owner. Say it.
Yes, I am.
There we go. So you're all business owners, meaning the first variable that we want to be aware of is we need expenses to be low. Otherwise, what happens to your income? It literally just, in a week, it can just, and it's like gone. You're like, oh, where is all the money? And your accountant's like, you spent it all. And you're like, but I have bills. And they're like, make more money. And you're like, okay, you make more money. And then your accountant's like, spend that money too. And you're like, I don't want to spend that money. I want to keep it. And they're like, no, you have bills. And it's this cycle of business ownership, always having to make more money. However, if you are effective as a business owner, you are able to keep your expenses low. So that is the first variable that you have to keep in mind. Now the second thing is we want your outputs being what? High. And so here's this duality, right? You need low expenses and high output. And for us, as a business owner, output means what? Sales, specifically sales volume, not number of transactions. Because if you could just sell one house for $50 million every single year consistently and spend no money, that's amazing. That's great. You should do that. But obviously it doesn't work that way. In order to get that huge sale, you need to have a lot of sales and reputation to lead it. I'm going to have you guys all mute your devices for me. Thank you. And so now, keeping that in mind, how do we do things that keep our expenses low and our output high? And in between this range, this caliber of variables, you have your time. And we want to make sure that the things you do for your time have as high of an output and as low of a cost, as low as a time invested as possible. And these are some of those things. So let's do it. So the very first one is my favorite thing on this list, and it is the easiest thing to do. You know how when you go into Gmail, who uses Gmail? You should all, it's just better than AOL. So when you go into Gmail, and you, like, if you're trying to find an email, like if you click an email thread that has 5 or 10 emails on it, you have to like scroll down, and then you have to open up different links, and you have to like click their icon, and you're like, sometimes escrow can get crazy with your inbox. Has anybody noticed that? Like Old Republic, I swear to God, one escrow, they send me 150 emails. And I'm just like, guys, don't email me ever. Like, I don't even want you to email me at all, let alone 150 times. And so if there's a thread, you know, it's like, okay, email 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 20 emails. But the thing is, you don't care about the email at the top of the thread, do you? Because that email, well, you've already read it. And that email was probably sent like a month ago. And so you have to now look at all of these emails in order to get to the one you actually want, which is the most recent. So this Chrome extension is all it is. It is my favorite hack on here. You download it, and it just switches the order of the emails that you get. So the most recent email is just on top. And it's just the very first thing in that thread you read. And it's free. It's great. Everybody should download this. Like, you're silly. I don't get paid if you do this. Just do it. It's great.
Yeah, what's it called?
Gmail Conversion Thread Reversal. It's a Chrome extension. I'll give you my packet when I'm done. Thank you. Okay. Next one. Hack number 2. This is more of like a, well, duh, than a hack, but we're just going to cover it anyway. When you secure business, it's coming from a lead source, right? You have lead pillars. So you might have open houses, you might have Zillow, you might have expireds, you might have FSBOs. All of these things have 2 costs. Who knows what those costs are? Your lead sources. Time and money. Good job, Jonathan. Well, round of applause. Good job, buddy. So time and money. And some lead sources cost more time and some cost more money. For example, open houses are almost free. Almost. You have to get some open house signs, you have to have some gas, but for sakes and purposes, it is a free lead source. Zillow leads cost very little time, at least in terms of acquisition of the lead. However, they do cost a ton of money. We spend $15,000 a month on Zillow. Like every single month, on the 27th of every month, they do not forget to bill me. Like I promise you, they have never forgotten to bill me for $15,000. Ever. It's like not once, and sometimes I'm hoping, like, man, maybe this month they'll forget. It's like, no, they don't. And so that lead source, though, is amazing because I don't have to sift through 500 doors, door knocking, circle dialing, expireds to find somebody that's motivated. All I have to do is, 1, pay that money, 2, rank very well, Zillow rewards the top performing teams, and 3, answer the phone when they call. And so now me as a business owner, I have a very reliable and consistent source of lead flow always coming into the business. And as we have agents on the team, the more people we have, we make sure to raise that bar so we always have enough business. And so as a business owner, what I would encourage you to do on the side of your paper right now, write down your 1 to 10 lead sources that you can all think of. All of the places you've ever either closed the deal from, go ahead, write it down, or that you hope to, like a source of business that you're actively working. And maybe if you're a lender, maybe write down where you get your realtor leads or your buyer leads. And let's actively write those down and participate. And so now what I want you to do, next to each one of those lead sources, write either a M or a dollar symbol, money, or T for time. And just think, which one requires more money or which one requires more time? Or is it maybe a combination of both? And I would guarantee that if you were to, now do this figuratively in your head with me, I want you to cross out the worst performing lead source in there, and I want you to just imagine you're going to take all of that either budget or effort, all of that money or time, and double down on another lead source. Does anybody feel like there might be another lead source that you could take? So let's say you have 4, and let's say you're splitting your time and money 25% between all of them. I almost guarantee that you're probably better off taking one of those lead sources, entirely eliminating it, and taking that extra 25% and doubling down. Did anybody have any realizations around that at all? I'd love to hear it. What do you think?
Probably focusing more on what works for me, is just within circle of influence. Mm-hmm. That's time and money.
Yeah.
Better than somebody kind of the random social media stuff that you kind of put out there.
Yeah.
Which also costs time.
Which also costs time and money. Yeah. Spirit. So he's basically saying instead of maybe kind of doing a little bit here and there for social media, why not just double down on your sphere that's probably already sending you business? So what I refer to that is client acquisition financing, meaning your current clients, the ones that you help buy or sell, those clients will help you finance to purchase or to obtain the next client. So let's say you're doing geographic farming, mailing, and you're spending $500 every single month consistently. Now your very first client, you're actually going to need to put up money up front. But when you make your first closing, whether you make $3,500 or $10,000, now that's called client finance acquisition. So this current client is going to finance the next one and the next one. And so before you know it, now you're going to have proceeds that you can either take distributions on, ownership of the business, or you can say, you know, I'm going to double down. This worked really well. And you should identify 2 or 3 sources of your business that are your money makers. I know so many agents that are like, I want to have 10 or 11 different sources of business because I can. Instead of saying, I want to have 2 or 3 that just crush. And just get really, really good at finding out what those things are and what your skill sets are. So for example, maybe you are just amazing at open houses. maybe every single time you do an open house or every other time, you get a client, you get a client, you get a client. And I know agents that like, they will show up, they'll do 4 open houses and get 4 closings, and then they're like, yeah, I think I want to go after FSBOs. And I'm just like, why? And they're like, well, it's more seller-based. I was like, well, why not just don't stop doing what's working. If you really want to add another lead source, add it, supplement it, don't just stop. So find out what works really well and then make decisions based upon that data, not based upon, I feel like doing this. I feel like that. No, your numbers say this and we should definitely keep doing that. And let's not stop. That's almost like if I sold a product and Walmart was my biggest customer and I would sell it on their shelves. And then I decided, you know what, I don't really want to sell to Walmart anymore. I want to sell to somebody else. And it's like, well, Walmart might be 80% of your business. We should really reconsider that. But we as agents get so caught up because we are typically the only people running your business that we let emotions make decisions instead of data. Yeah, makes sense, right? Cool. That was hack number 2. All right. Who here has heard of Slide Broadcast? Awesome. There's a company called Slide Broadcast. You can log in, you can sign up for an account, it's like 2 cents a piece, and you can upload names and numbers, or just numbers in it, and you can just automatically send broadcast voicemails out to everybody in this audience list. So let's say you are having an event, and you want to invite your entire sphere of influence, but let's say you are so popular that we need to invite 20,000 people to your event, because that's how big your sphere is. Now, obviously you're not going to call all of them, invite them, and you could do maybe a mass text, but bulk, and it doesn't always go through. And it's definitely not going to go through if you send an email. But if you go on this website, and you pre-record a message, and you can't say their name because it's going to everybody, obviously, but you say, hey, it's Devin, long time no see. I'm having an event this weekend, and I really wanted you to come join us. It's here and here, and blah, 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 blah. And now, they look at their phone, and they're confused because they're like, wow, my phone didn't ring. What's wrong with my phone? But I have a voicemail from Devin. Oh, well, let me hear it. And then Devin personally called me and invited me. How nice of him. And now you are doing 2 things. One, you're reaching out, and you're also inviting them to an event. You are accomplishing both goals, and it takes like 10 minutes. You can send a voicemail to 20,000 people. 20,000. Now, these do have to be, you can't just cold call. You can't just pull random numbers and do this. There's a big no-no against that. You can, you shouldn't. Don't do that. I haven't done that. It's fantastic. I love it. All right, this is in the same vein. I use this texting app called Reach, where it will preload all of the messages into your audience list for you. It's $5 a month. It's very expensive, I know. But if you create a message, and you can actually have it say their names. So if you want to, say, invite people, or maybe you just want to ask for referrals. Maybe it's the beginning of the year, and you're like, you know what, I need to kick ass and kickstart my business. You might create a text that says, hey, name, it's Devin. I'm really trying to grow my business this year. I'm just reaching out to all my friends and family to see if they might know somebody that I could help buy or sell real estate. And that's a very easy, non-assuming text that I send out probably once a quarter. And nobody is offended when you tell them. Now, if you just ask for a referral, hey, do you know anybody I can help? It's like, oh, it's kind of weird, right? But if I say, hey, I'm trying to grow my business. Can you help me? I'm looking for somebody I can help buy or sell real estate. Most people will respect the work and the hustle. And with this app, you can just type that thing in, and it will send it to your entire list of friends. Every person you enter, it will just do it. And now it's kind of funny because it won't just like automatically blast it out to all numbers at once. It will actually load up on your phone, and then it will load the text message, it will load the user, the recipient, and then you have to be the one to click send. Because if your iPhone knows that you've sent out 10,000 messages or 1,000 in 1 minute, Apple's like, hey, what's going on? This is spam. But if Apple sees that you just every 3 seconds or 5 seconds you press send, they're like, oh, it's just a quick message. So you don't get flagged as spam, so they're smart about it. So if you have 1,000 people in your audience, you have to actually physically press the button 1,000 times. But it's way faster than copy pasting, uploading the person's contact and doing it yourself. Highly recommend this app. Between those two, you could reach out to your entire network once a month, twice a month, and literally not have to do anything. You could not lead generate for the rest of your life if you just did these two things. Like the rest of your life. And now remember, we're trying to find things that are low expense, $5 a month, $50 a month for Slide Podcast, and high output. Low expense, high output, low time. Has anyone ever heard of Answer the Public? No? Who here does social media creations, content creation? A couple of you guys? Okay, good. When you are thinking of something to make a video about, John, I'll use you as an example. How do you determine what to make a video about? Like, not even that, how do you make it? Like, when you think of an idea, how do you like, oh, maybe this is a good idea, maybe it's not. And for context, John Kiefer is a lender that we've partnered with on a lot of our projects and very knowledgeable, so I'd like to use him as a resource.
So next on my computer, I have a list of topics. For example, on Friday, I had two conversations that I made reels about yesterday. One was about how to don't close a credit card, and the other one was about how to have a low down payment, live in the house for a year, and then use it as a rental property, and then have another house with 5% down. Building your portfolio that way.
So I determine what I'm going to make a reel about based on what I think people want to hear and what they need to know. Okay. Did that answer the question? Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
You can mic right away, sir.
All right.
A challenge a lot of people I've heard is they don't know what to make content around. So you may be the best realtor or something in the world, but you may not know what are people searching for. Answer the Public and Google questions, Google Trends. Yes, Google Trends. So you can actually go on and just type in some type of topic. You can type in real estate in Hawaii, and Google will show you, you know those little like question drop downs where it'll tell you 5 or 6 different questions, and then you click the drop down and it'll give you the answer. You guys know what I'm talking about? I love those. Those, you know why Google puts that there, right? It's because those are the most frequently asked questions that are typed into Google. And so as a content creator, we want to make content not necessarily what we like, but what people ask and what people watch. And if people are constantly asking Google these 5 or 6 questions, then we know by making content, there's a high likeliness that will get a lot of views and a lot of engagement because that's what people are asking about. But if you make videos about things that people don't care about, for example, if I made a video about why I'm using this microphone today, nobody cares. But if I'm making video content around how to make your life easy as a real estate agent, that's something that we put thought into. All of these, like, look at all of the lists here. So tips from top producers, everybody go to the first page. Now, some of these came from you. We specifically asked in the audience 3 or 4 weeks ago, what are some topics that you want to hear about? And then we had, over the last couple weeks, we've had 30 or 40 answers. And then we went through it as a team together and said, what are the most common things being asked? How can we make sure that we're answering those questions? So it should never be, this is what I'm good at, this is what I care about. This is what people are wondering. And if you're trying to make content and you're trying to get views, you need to make things that are relevant. And so even looking at this, April, mastering negotiation and closing techniques, digital marketing, maintaining your mindset and motivation, farm to fortune, how to geofarm, all of these things were specifically brought up. I don't care about any of them. I do all of these, so I'll look at the questions and be like, what do I feel I am qualified to speak on? And then we're going to speak about that. Now, there were some things that people brought up that were probably beyond my expertise. Like people talked about foreclosures and short sales. And I've done a few of them and I know them, but it's not necessarily my niche. And you're right, I don't want to do it anyway. Yeah, there's a reason I don't do it. There's a reason we don't talk about it. Because I promise you, if we did a class on how to get foreclosure listings, there would be a ton of people here. I have no interest in working with a ton of people that are trying to work with foreclosures. They are difficult. And then Answer the Public is really cool because you can type in like a topic and it will actually give you 40, instead of just Google 4 or 5, it will give you 40 or 50 things that are being searched on Google around that specific topic. So it really helps you generate a lot of ideas around your content creation. Ideas that people want, not just ideas in general. Outsourcing talent. Who here has an assistant, staff, or even a virtual assistant? What does your VA do, John?
She cleans up my CRM mostly.
Nice. Okay. That's good.
For the most part, yeah.
How about yourself?
Skip trace expired lists.
Yeah, skip trace, go through essentially the same thing, right? Just kind of cleaning through and making sure the people that you spend time on isn't people you don't want to spend time on. So this is probably one of the this is the best and hardest thing to implement in this entire guide. It's really what we're referring to as leverage. In your business, there are going to be things that you are better at and things that you are worse at. For example, I wouldn't consider myself to be an expert in videography. It is a very niche skill that requires a high degree of skills and understanding and a certain amount of equipment and how to use that equipment and how to make it all flow and function together that somebody wants to watch. That is not my specialty. Now, I could leave this today and I could spend 6 months on courses and learning and YouTube and all of this stuff, and I could learn how to do it. But you know what? That's going to pull away from what I am really good at, which is selling real estate, coaching and training agents. Those are my 2 skills. And so instead, I've partnered with Nico. Everybody say hi, Nico.
Hi, Nico.
Nico's amazing. Nico's the one that makes all of you look pretty on camera when you're here. He's great at it, right, Nico? Fantastic. And so when you're leveraging, really I don't want you to think of it as this boss-employee mindset. That's a mistake a lot of people make. You have to look at it as a partnership. You are trading something for something and they are trading something for something. And the partnership has to go both ways. There has to be trust, there has to be respect, there has to be compensation, either direction. And if there's not one of those things, then you need to probably find somebody that can, or question, do you need to do that? Now, as a real estate agent and broker, hey Nick, it's important to understand that you may not have the resources to hire the best people for the job, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with finding somebody, such as a virtual assistant, that may not be able to do it as good as you, but they can still get the job done, and you can focus on more priorities. And I really recommend, I met my first VA through Upwork, upwork.com. Does everybody know that you can hire somebody from the Philippines for like $5 an hour, and you are paying them so well? Like when I say you're paying them $5 or $8 an hour, I mean they're sending their kid to private school. Like that's how well you're paying them. I mean that like they have an in-house nanny when you're paying, so I pay my assistant $10 an hour. She has a nanny. Her son goes to private school, and they own their own home and are looking at buying another home. And I pay $10. And there's no payroll wages, there's no IRX, there's no K-9s. Like all I do is, it's not PayPal, but it's basically PayPal her every 2 weeks. And that's all I have to do. And guess what? She does everything. So I don't know if I should say this, but like she writes my offers, she preps my listings, she'll do CMAs, She'll respond to my girlfriend's text messages for me. Like, no, I'm serious. She has, if you text me and say, hi, Christine, to my number, she will respond and be like, hi, John, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. She'll respond. She gets every text message I get because I bought her an iPhone, and I have an iPhone, and I just linked them and put them in the cloud. Now, do you have to have a certain amount of trust for them to be able to have access to your bank statements, to all the phone numbers? Yes. And that doesn't just come immediately. You don't just hire somebody and do that. She's been with me for 3 going on 4 years, so it's okay. So I want you all on the side of your page to, everybody pull up their calendar. If you don't have a calendar, just get a calendar and then pull it up. And I want you to look at all of the activities that you have scheduled between now and maybe the last 7 days or the next 7 days. And just in your head, mentally think, if you were to assign that position to me, so look at everything in there. If you were to assign, we're just going to play a game. If you were to assign that to me, not anybody else, you were to say, Devin, this is the job. Are there things in there that you think you could delegate? Is there anything in your calendar that you think that it's like, okay, I don't necessarily have to do, thank you, Adam. I don't have to do that. And I want to hear some examples. What is something in your calendar other than client-facing appointments that you think you could delegate to me? Let me just talk.
You could have auto reminders to send people.
Okay, so I could go into your CRM and send reminders. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. What's something else that you could delegate to me? So what I'm trying to example is this virtual assistant may not be skilled in this field. So I'm just pretend I'm your virtual assistant. Imagine I'm following you around with a whiteboard. This is my job, and I'm there to serve and help you. Give me some examples of what I could do to assist you in your business. Peter, what do you think? This week or in the last week or in the last 7 days or the next 7 days, what is one thing I could do that could help you if I was your assistant? Just one thing.
Find me sellers.
Okay, lead generation. I can do lead generation, yeah. What else?
Respond to text.
Respond to text. Okay, what else?
Follow up on
Yeah, follow up on people.
Creating response templates on a website.
Creating response templates on a website, yeah, of course. What else?
I need someone to renovate my condo.
Renovate your condo. I could do that. Yeah, it wouldn't be good, but I could do it. Nick could do it.
Scheduling appointments.
Scheduling appointments, lead generation. What else? Come on. There's a million things. I want us to get off of set appointments.
Date nights.
Date nights. Maybe.
Check appraisal progress.
Check appraisal progress. Okay, so now we're starting to think of things that we can really do well. Okay, everybody just start writing these things down. Posting on social media. Preparing comps. Checking your email. Who here has an email address? You all have an email address. Who here has an email address? Yes. You stop checking your email. Someone else checks your email.
Hound escrow or land court.
Yeah, reminding your vendors of what to do about things. Yeah, updating clients. Preparing listing documents. Preparing any documents. Sending things through FedEx in the mail. They don't have to go down there. You can do it all online. What else does Christine do for me? Payroll of other people. Review DAs. Update tracking sheets. Update email addresses. Maybe scheduling date nights, like reaching out to the restaurant and getting things set up. Maybe reaching out to your vendors and saying, hey, did this person qualify? What about scheduling showings? Who here schedules their own showings? Okay, stop doing that. Here's how we schedule my showings. I never talk to the listing agents because I don't need to anymore. Not because I don't want to hear about it, because I know that sometimes I'm going to spend 5 days trying to get a hold of the listing agent just for them to tell me they went under contract. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. So here's how my scheduling appointments go. I will typically, now sometimes I don't, have 3 to 5 properties in mind that I think I want to show to a client. Or they will send them to me and say, hey, I want to see these, maybe through our CRM. Then I'll say, Christine, set us up. I set an appointment. I just got off the phone with Chris. We're going to go see properties tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Set these up for me. I put them in an MLS cart maybe, or just she has access to my phone. Then she will schedule through showing time and request all the appointments. She will reach out to the agent to make sure that they are in fact still available. Because I don't want to ever show up to a list or to a showing with a buyer and they're already under contract. I never want to tell the client, hey, I know we really like this home, they just accepted an offer. That's a waste of my time, that's a waste of their time, and when you're going to spend an hour driving somewhere to show a house, do not be doing that. Then she's going to ask all of the questions that your buyers are going to ask you. So what are some questions when you show up to a house with a buyer, what are they going to say? What kind of questions about the home are they going to say?
How many square feet?
Yeah, so they're going to ask property-specific characteristical questions. Then they're also going to say things like, why are they selling? What does HOA cover? Have they had any offers? Do you think we can lowball them? Right? These are questions that come up. And so now if I'm at a showing and every single house I look at and they say, why are they selling? And I say, I don't know. Well, have they had any offers? I don't know. Well, what do you know? Right? And so now my assistant scheduled my showings, made sure that I had all the proper information, made sure I looked educated, so when I sit down with the buyer, I can explain all of these things, and they're like, wow, you're amazing. And I'm like, I didn't do any of this, but don't even worry about it, I am amazing. And now you look like a professional, and you didn't have to do this work because you're paying somebody $6 an hour to do it, and you're more likely to get a lot of business. And now the best part is, you can close 3, 4, 5 more transactions, probably in the same amount of time because you have leverage. And guess what? Eventually, that virtual assistant is going to get better than you at doing that. Because has anybody ever gotten an approved showing through showing time? This pisses me off. You ever showed up to like an appointment, you show the house, and then you look at your approved showing time, and there's no entry instructions? And you're like, no, they said I could go. They said it's fine. Where's the lockbox code? And then you get on the phone. They're like, fuck, they forgot to put the lockbox code in. So you're getting on the phone with the listing agent, Carrie, and you're like, Carrie, I'm here at your house on Waikilani. What is the lockbox code? And she's not picking up the phone because she approved it last night. And you realize that it's 8 in the morning. And you're like, fuck, my client's going to be here in 5 minutes. I told them we're going to get into this house. And now I don't even have a lockbox combination. Who looks like an idiot? I do. Yeah, that sucks. That just happened. Not actually, but that happened like a year ago before we had a system for it. So all of these things that you do in your business do not have to be done by you. And I bet there's somebody out there that can do it even better than you can. And even if you need 2 people to do that job, and they do 75% of what you do, 2 people doing 75% is how much? 150%. We're good at math. So now they're doing 1.5 times what you can do, and you're not doing it. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Now, are there steps in place to ensure that proper things are being done? Are there checklists? Yes. Are there procedures? Yes. Are there ways of accountability so I can make sure that my whether it's an assistant, a team person, is doing the things in the way that they need to be done? Yes, and that's called writing procedures, which is one of the most boring parts of the job. Yeah.
So how long did it take you to train Christine to get to that level?
Well, we now have people that do what she does just in different aspects of the business. So for her, maybe 3 years, 2 years, 2 years. But I trained her on one thing, and then she got really good at it, and then it was something else, and it was something else. So over time, we were adding roles and responsibilities to her job. And what used to might take her 4 or 5 hours, now she maybe can do in 30 minutes, like writing an offer. But once you have good training in place, and the beauty of this is you can hire somebody to train. Once you have one person, they can be in charge of training the others. And because if you're not good at documenting processes, I am. I don't mind it at all. And in fact, I think I'm pretty good at it. But once you have somebody who can get good at documenting processes, then they can be the ones that train everybody else. So we have a transaction manager that I would say it only takes 4 months in part of our system for our transaction manager to become like A tier, and then another 6 months before they're S tier. But the first one took a couple of years, and then the second one took a couple months. So it's a process, of course, and you kind of have to have fun with it, and you also have to you have to make sure to understand with virtual assistants, they are part of your team. You have to treat them like part of your team. You have to add them. If you have a website, you have to add them on your website. If they have birthdays, give them the paid day off. Send them like a gift card. Like, do something, and don't just make it feel like a transactional relationship. Treat them like a real person, and they're going to work a lot harder. Even if you're paying them less than somebody in the US you would, they're still going to want to do the work for you, because everybody wants to be a part of a team and belong, like I do, every person here does. Yeah.
How did you find this?
Upwork.com.
What is A and S class?
Oh, I was just kind of referring to, like, if something is in forms of tiers, like an A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, sorry. And then S tier is like the best, the creme de la creme, the best of the best of the best. Yeah. So like an A tier person is just like an A player, for example.
But S is better than A.
Yes. Yeah.
Superior.
Superior, there you go. I didn't. That's me.
After the assistant finished contract, you said you will review.
Or do I review? Is that what you're asking?
No, you have to review, like, you send the broker to review, make sure everything.
I see. So her question was, once my assistant writes my purchase contracts, what happens after? Is that right?
Yeah.
So for the first 12 months of writing offers, I would basically get on the phone with her and like help her through it, because writing offers is something that it's a very, very like esoteric piece of knowledge that they have to understand how all of this works. And if they don't, they might write something wrong. So in the first 12 months, I would actually walk her through how I was writing it. But now all I have her do is I just have her send me a PDF. I look at it for 2 minutes. I say it's much like a broker would. And then she DocuSigns it out to broker, to client, gets it all coordinated. Texts the client, says, hey, Elle, it's in your inbox, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so like it took a little while, but now it's quick. Yeah, I can write an offer in like 5 minutes. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, next hack. This is something that all of you get wrong. You're all terrible at this, I promise, because everybody is. All right, real estate is a relationship business. It is a sales business. The most important thing that you can do as a real estate professional is make your clients feel good about themselves. And when you go into an open house or you go into a listing appointment, I don't care if this is the worst house, studio, upper Kalihi, with missing walls and paint and just, I don't care if this is the worst listing you've ever seen in your entire life. You need to focus on the positive. When you walk into this home, this is the damn Taj Mahal. You love this house. If you were in the market for a property, you would buy this property, because you need to make this seller thinks this is the best home you have ever seen. So no matter what I walk in, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I love the open floor plan. Well, it's like, Devin, that's because we ripped out the kitchen. But it's so open and it feels good. And the breeze, and they're like, well, that's from the semi-trucks on the highway. Doesn't matter. You need to love it. You need to love their home more than your own. And when you do this, they are going to be excited, because nobody loves their home more than them, but you need to be the person that loves the home the second most. And it doesn't matter, we're not talking about price right now. They need your buy-in. They want to think, wow, he loves this. He can sell this. Right? Right? And if you don't, they're going to hire the agent that does. And this doesn't just apply to listings. This applies to every aspect of the transaction. Always, always, always allow your clients to save face. No matter what. We were just talking about this. There is a reason, stay with me. There's a reason that when I am on a buyer's appointment, I am very mindful of how much they can afford, and I never make assumptions. Because if I'm with a client and I say, your monthly budget, is it $3,000, $4,000, $5,000? And then she goes, oh, maybe like $2,000? Guess what? She doesn't feel good. She's not excited about this. But if I say, okay, how much do we want to spend a month? Like $1,000 a month, $1,500? And then she's like, I want to spend $2,000 a month. Same response, same question, slightly different, totally different emotions. Totally different emotions. And so when I do a buyer consult, before I sit down and start asking them, what are you looking for? I want a 4-bedroom, I want a 3-bath, I want 2-car parking. Because when you sit down with a buyer for the first time and it's their first purchase, I promise you, they want everything. And then when you tell them that what they just described is $5,000 a month, who feels embarrassed? They do. They feel very embarrassed. They feel so embarrassed that they would rather just reach out to a new realtor rather than having to face that embarrassment. I promise you that they would rather reach out to a new agent rather than face embarrassment. Meaning, if you talk to a buyer and they tell you they want all of this amazing things, and then they're going to learn how much that actually costs. They're going to learn how much their house at the top of the hill with the view and the parking and the garage, they're going to learn it costs $2 million. And then they're going to think to themselves, wow, I can only afford $600,000. I have to call Devin. I have two choices. I have to call Devin. I have to call Melody. And I have to say, hey, I know I described all of these amazing features. I can't afford $2 million. I can only afford $600,000. So that's option one. Or option two, I might just reach out to a new realtor so I don't have that same embarrassment. And so we need to keep it on the positive. We need to tell them we need to give 12th place trophies, right? We have to. Because if we don't, they are going to find somebody that will. Was that clear? Did that land? Do you guys understand that? Just focus on the good stuff. Be nice.
But do you tell them the truth, or you say, oh, you are okay, you can afford it?
Instead of they end
for-
up saying, oh, you didn't bring me what I wanted.
Right. So there's a way. They're basically saying, well, how do you navigate that? If they start telling you, I want blah, 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 and it's in the order that you do your buyer consultation. So when we all sit down with a buyer, and typically you'll sit down, you'll kind of do a meet and greet, you'll get to know them, you might explain the buying process, you'll probably walk them through the timeline, you might go over a little bit of financing, you might ask questions about their search criteria. But before you start saying, what are you looking for, you might want to just keep in mind, based upon some questions, maybe on the phone you find out what their budget is, what their monthly budget is before you even meet them. And then you might want to sit down and say, okay, by the way, based on our budget, if our budget's $700, these are going to be the homes that are available. And of course, we're going to look at everything that fits the budget. And we might even bump the price up $25,000 or $30,000 above budget, just because we might have room to negotiate. Maybe the seller comes down. I would rather us not miss anything. And now guess what? I am the one presenting homes under $700, and they are very quickly going to see that this is not a mansion on the hill. They're going to make that distinction. And in their head, they're going to drop the idea of the mansion on the hill, and they're probably going to do what everybody does, which is, it's not as big as I thought it was. And you're going to say, yeah, I know, and you're going to agree with them. And you're not going to say, well, that's how much it is here. You're just going to say, I know. Yeah, but we're going to find the best place we can for the best price. Okay, thank you. So you make them feel good. Good question, yeah. Attend garage sales. This is like, I used to do this all the time. Kapolei, Eva Beach, sometimes Kaimuki if you get a good weekend. Coconut Grove and Kailua. There's all these little suburb pocket neighborhoods that just, Eva Beach, like Ocean Point, there will be 15 open houses on a one weekend. I'm not even kidding. Like you go July, not open houses, sorry, garage sales. Yeah, thank you. And just go. And one, see if they have any cool shit. And two, ask and be like, where are you guys going? How come you're selling all? It's amazing. It's like, by the way, is that like, well, you've got a third car parking in that garage? That's kind of nice. What else you got in there? And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And people at garage sales love to talk. They love it. They will talk to you for hours about all this crap you don't care about. Just ask the question. Are you guys doing a downsize or what's going on? Oh, no, we blah, blah, blah. And they'll tell you. They will tell you. Like enough said, we don't have to talk about that anymore. Just go. All right, I wouldn't call this one a hack because there's two sides of the coin if you should do this. One is you're probably better off prospecting for new business, doing an open house, or all these things. However, if you desire to get into luxury price points, does anybody desire to sell very nice homes? Just raise your hand. Just yes, you should. You need to understand the market. If all you know are Hondas and Fords, and you show up and you're starting to try and sell Ferraris, you're going to look like an idiot. You're going to have no idea what's going on. You're not going to know what travertine is. You're not going to think you ought to. You're not going to know these brands. You're not going to know these concepts. You need to know this stuff. And if somebody's going to hire you, if they're going to spend $20, $30, $50, $100,000 for your services, they expect that you know what a goddamn travertine flooring is and not a tile flooring. Like, right? And so if you show up to the Ferrari dealership and the guy is comparing it to any other non-luxury car, you're not going to be happy about it. And so the way you learn about this stuff, the way you understand the market is you be a part of it. And when you have a listing appointment, let's say you've got an $8 million listing appointment on Round Top, and there's 6 other homes, none of which have received offers, and there's only 2 that have sold. If you show up to that listing appointment, and you have seen every single house, you have spoken to every broker, you have asked every single one, how many offers have you received? Any lowball offers, because those come in at that price point. Any issues with the home that I should be aware of? How come your seller's selling? If you show up and you can regurgitate all those facts, those sellers are going to start to think one thing, which is, wow, John knows this market. John knows the type of home that I have. This might be his first time here, but he understands my home and he understands my market. You're in the running. You may not get the listing, could be any sorts of reasons, but you are now in the running. However, if you just wing it, you just like show up and you don't know any of the shit, you don't know any of the comps, you haven't seen them, because I promise you, don't make the mistake I did on my first Waialae Iki listing appointment that I didn't get, which was I started going through comps that I didn't know anything about. It's just numbers on a page is all it is to me. And the owner goes, why are you using this as a comp? And I was like, oh no, what do you mean? He's like, well, have you been in here? And I said, no. And he said, well, I have. And did you know that their ceilings are only about 6.5 feet tall throughout the entire house? And he proceeds to tell me, it was this older, like very blunt Korean gentleman. And like, he didn't speak the best English either, so he's like, yeah, that house made for midgets is what he tells me. And he's like, you haven't been there. And I was like, oh, you're right, I haven't. And I did not get that listing. I walked away with my tail between my legs, and I learned a lesson. And so every expensive appointment I ever go on, unless like I know the market well, I spend an hour or two studying, and that's all it takes. Now, if you're going after 2 million plus, go get in those brokers opens. Go schedule private showings. Some people might not like this, but say you have a virtual buyer and you want to schedule a showing. Just like get in the house and look at it. You need to know the market. Who knows? Maybe when you sell the neighbor's house, you can find a buyer for it. So at that price point, it's worth doing. Now, I'm not going to recommend you do this for $350,000 Waikiki grants. It's not worth your time. You're going to take half of a day looking at places, and if you're really smart, while you're in these $8 million homes, you're going to do what with your phones? You're going to take video. You're going to make social media content. You're going to take a beautiful 8-second video. You're going to put a stupid quotation mark on it by somebody you've never heard of, and it's going to say something motivational. You're going to paste it on Reels on Instagram, and you're going to get 12,000 views. It's like, wow, okay, I'll do that. Okay, we're going to breeze through this. Hotkeys, who just knows what hotkeys is? Who has an iPhone? Nice. On iPhone, can I see my phone? Oh, thank you. Sorry. No, you're good, you're good. So on my phone, I have all these crazy cool hotkeys, which are basically you type a series of letters, and it will fill in anything for you. You can do it on your laptop or your phone. So for example, on my phone, if I type in 3 R's in a row, R, 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 not a pirate, so 1, 2, 3, push space, and it will fill in an entire information on rental properties, where to look at rentals, how much it costs to rent, and that if they're spending more than $2,000 per month and plan to be on island for longer than 18 months, I always recommend purchasing, even if blah, 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 blah. Because how often do people ask about rentals? I get that question on a weekly basis, but I don't do rentals. Nobody here does. But you don't want to just say, sorry, I can't help you, because that sucks. And so you type in, it's like, oh, RRR, boom. And you just send them 4 paragraphs of information, and it took you less than 2 seconds. Less than 2 seconds. I even typed out on the very back, I actually put the rental information here. And so you can copy paste this or do whatever you want. But that's what I send people when they ask about rentals.
And that's information you just put on your phone.
That's right, yeah. That's it. Oh, I'll show you. So if I can't tell, Google it. Just Google it. Yeah. How to make a iPhone hotkey. How to make an Android hotkey. And I guarantee you there will be multiple step-by-step directions. Yeah. But I do it for everything. I do it for my full name, email address, license number. Like, people are like, oh, can you send me all your contact information? And it'll send them everything. Yeah. Passwords. It's very convenient. Cool. All right, last thing, everybody, I'm going to have you rip off a small piece of white paper on your sheet. So, like 3 inches wide by an inch tall. Just rip it off for me. And start thinking of any questions. We're going to go through some questions in a bit, but with that paper, I want you to write your name on one side. There's 2 types of people in the world. You guys are like nicely perforating it and making it all good. And then there's the guys in the back, just rip it off. Okay, so I want you to write your first name on the front of it. Thank you. And then on the back, write the name of a real estate agent or a potential real estate agent, somebody that's thinking about getting in the business, that isn't as good as they are, that isn't as good as they could be. So somebody you think that's like, man, even if it's an agent you like, and you're just like, they could probably be better at this. Or maybe they would just benefit from a little bit of training. So rising tide rises all ships. Who do you need to rise the tide around in your life? And the question I have is, are you the type of person in your network that encourages people to grow? Or are you the type of person that kind of just leaves them hanging? So write the name of somebody that you think could benefit by being here.
And their contracts.
Yeah, and we'll look it up. Hopefully they're licensed. Cool. All right, everybody. That is it. I'm going to have Lexi grab all those from you. And thank you all for coming. Next week we are covering, what are we covering next week?
$700.
Oh, yeah. Next week we're going to be covering $700 client acquisitions. So how to buy a client for $700.